to TWF Rampage, or Wreslepalooze, or if Palooza is a Spanish borrowed word, then the English word would be gathering. I am Jim Ross, here with Tony Schiavone and with Montel Vertadius Porter. And today on Rampage, or Ram Through Wreslepalooza, which is an old ECW Yield show, we're going to see the match that we've been talking about for months. It's going to be between Mora from Disney's Mora and MJF for the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings, Jim Ross says. Well, that's right, Tony Schiavone said. Mora, or Mara, however you say her name, however you say that. Shit. However you say that Hawaii-ish or Samoa-ish or Mari-ish, Moorish, Mali-ish, borrowed name. You know, however you say that name, you know. And we know she can't stand up. Well, I guess she can. However you say that name, Tony Schiavone said we're going to see her fight MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, for the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings. Tony Schiavone says. Yes, we are, Montel. Yeah, we are, Montel Vertadius Porter says. Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. We're going to see that today. And I understand that the fourth setter of the TWF, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, did have talk with one of the Fight Lord or Fight Keeper here on Thursday. So now we know who's going to be overseeing the match. This is for the TWF. This match is for the TWF. This match is for the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings. First, she is from the Southeast Islands, Mora. And he is the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight fighter, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Well, now we're going to see who's going to become the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight fighter. Is Mora going to take that winnings, or is MJF going to keep it, Jim Ross says. Well, it's hard to say at this time, Tony Schiavone said. Maxwell Jacob Friedman won the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings the first time when Jack Sparrow won it back from Jack Sparrow, beat Jack Sparrow again, and Rex and Mora. Mora only has one more seek to become the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight fighter, Tony Schiavone said. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Montel Vertadius Porter says. Mora has as much luck as winning the TWF Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings as Cody Rhodes has becoming the WWE Heavyweight and World Heavyweight fighter. At the end of the day, I truly believe. Oh, a slap across the leer. I truly think that at the end of the day, Braun Steiner will still keep the WWE NXT Heavyweight winnings. And even though it might sad me to say this, I think that Roman Reigns will keep the WWE Heavyweight winning. You know, he lost the TWF ones. And Mora right now, he lost that one. And Montel Vertadius Porter says, Mora just slapped MJF right back. You going to shame her? Jim Ross said she's going to shame you. Onlook goes both ways. And someone tells me that MJF was never ever taken to the woodshed Never by his folks. Or he wouldn't be behaving the way he behaves. A body slam and a drop kick. A side kick by Mora, Jim Ross says. Well, you're right about that, Tony Schiavone said. If MJF's mother or father raised him right, he wouldn't be behaving the way he's been behaving now. You know, he's nothing more than a bully and a heel and a creep. He's been that way in AEW, and he's been that way in the TWF. Hey, well, you gotta leave his upraising out of it. It's Mora who sadly is behaving like a bully and a heel and a creep right now. Oh, and Maxwell Jacob Friedman goes outside now. And keep in mind, Jim Ross said, Astronema made an oversight that neither of them could get the match thrown out by either a throw out or a track out. So this isn't going to work for Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Oh, Jim Ross said. No, it will not, Tony Schiavone said. MJF coming from the top rope. Steeple. From the top steeple. Off from the top steeple. Down on him, Jim Ross said. Yeah, that's right, Tony Schiavone said. MJF believes that he will be the greatest of all TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighters. Just like he thinks he's the greatest AEW heavyweight fighter, Tony Schiavone said. I'll tell you one thing, Maxwell Jake. I'll tell you one thing, Montel Arcadius Porter says. You know, I don't know how Stand and Deliver or Stand and Give 3 is going to play out. I don't know how WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania or WrestleMania Night 1 Night 2 will play out. But they're going to probably be one hell of a good match. Oh! I know MJF. And I like him. I like MJF, Montel Arcadius Porter said. As I tell you, if there's any man who needs an overseer, and if Paulie Dangerously's not going to pick him up, then I think I will. I thought you already got Omos. Yeah, I already got Omos, but it don't stop me from taking up other buyers or shoppers. If Paulie Dangerously can have almost all the Bloodway as his buyers and shoppers, why can't I have more than one fellow? And Maxwell Jacob Friedman seems to think that he's going to have everything under running lead here. But Mora's come back now. Oh, the Samoa strike, or the Hawaii strike, or the Mali strike. You know, wherever what land she comes from. Some southeast island, Jim Ross says. Are we going to get a new TWF heavyweight and royalweight fighter? Tony Schiavone said. Oh, I don't know. Montel Arcadius Porter says, I hope so. This might just put the SMW's show to shame. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner. And a new TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter, Mora. And now Mora is now the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter. And she can't get her thing on because her hair's always getting in the way. There we go. Can you believe that? Jim Ross said. Mora has now won the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight winnings. She beat MJF and she's now the new TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter, Jim Ross says. Well, luck must have been on her side, Tony Schiavone said. Only I believe at the end of the day, luck really had nothing to do with it. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Montel Arcadius Porter says, I think at the end of the day, I think God was on her side, Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. That's the only way she won. You know? Now she can't even stand up anymore. And she can't stand up anymore. I don't think she ever could. Whoa, whoa, fall over. That'd be shitty. now we got a new TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter now. Mora has won the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight winnings. She beat MJF. She beat Maxwell Jacob Friedman, which somehow had everyone believing that he was unbeatable. But it looks like that, sadly, was not true, Jim Ross said. No, it was not, Tony Schiavone said. We saw him think that he had everything under running lead, but at the end of the day, he did not. And now Michael Cole's going to talk with Mora. Alright, alright, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone. We got a new TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter here today on Rampage, Wreslepalooza, or Wrestle Gathering. And it's Mora from Disney's Mora. Alright, Mora. You truly did what no one believed you could do. That's right. Now, I can't speak for Cody Rhodes and him beating Roman Reigns or not. I can't speak for Braun Steiner keeping his winnings or not. But I can speak for myself. You see, I can speak for myself, See, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, he can still say that he's the AEW heavyweight fighter, but that winning don't mean shit. The only winnings that most folks care about is the WWE heavyweight winnings and world heavyweight winnings and the WWE NXT heavyweight winnings. Anyway, enough about that. I won the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight winnings. I did what no one thought I would do. And now I'm one of the very few women to ever win the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight winnings. I told everyone, I even told Maxwell Jacob Friedman that I was going to get even, that I was going to beat him, and that I was going to bring Onlook back to the TWF heavyweight winnings, to the world heavyweight winnings, and take it away from that bully, heel, creep, whatever you want to call him, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And then he can go and bitch about how it's so unfair, about how life is unfair, about how he couldn't get the match thrown out by a reckoning out or by a throw out, and that's the only grounds of how I beat him. Well, at the end of the day, I beat him because I wanted it more, and I struck him with my Hawaii strike or my Samoa strike or whatever you want to call it, and I got the win. Well, that's my talk with Mora. Mora, the new TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter. Back to you, Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Well, thank you, Michael Cole, for talking with Mora, the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight fighter, here today on Rampage, or Ramthrough, Wreslepalooza. That's all the time we got here for Rampage or Ramthrough. I am Jim Ross for Tony Schiavone and for Montel Vertadius Porter. We hope you like Rampage or Ramthrough, and we'll see you tomorrow for Power or Might.